What's going on, everyone? Welcome to a long anticipated project update video on my Type 2 U-boat build. Today's video will cover the progress I've made on the boat over the past few months, specifically the final painting process, the trimming, and lastly some footage of U-21 on her maiden voyage and her first patrols at the pond. Now, starting off with the painting, or rather the repainting of the hull. I first resprayed the lower hull with the same base coat gray that I had used back in 2017 when I initially painted her. This was followed by an application of thinned down white acrylic paint over the lower hull to recreate a kind of seawater stain and streaking effect. This method is rather simple. I thinned down some white acrylic paint to roughly the same consistency of watered down milk. This was then applied to the hull with a down streaking motion via a small paintbrush. For the upper hull, I simply used a thin brown enamel paint and added the rust streaking effects over the flood holes and upper hull surfaces. In terms of weathering, I chose to depict my boat as a lightly weathered U-boat on her first patrols at the start of the war. To my knowledge, the Type 2 U-boats, especially the earlier Type 2A and Type 2Bs, did not have the fuel capacity to conduct extensive long-range patrols like their Type 7 or Type 9 counterparts. As such, it didn't make sense for me to overweather the boat with excessive rusts or water streaks. But in the end, I am pretty satisfied with the result that I got. And with the painting completed, I was ready to drop the boat into the bathtub for her trimming stage. However, just prior to trimming, I wanted to test the watertight integrity of the WTC. I made sure to grease the propeller shaft seals and push the end caps securely against the Lexan tube. And now with the battery inserted, it was pretty cool to see the WTC sitting level on the water surface. But overall, my method of spray painting and sealing the 3D printed end caps appears to have worked. I was pretty happy to see that no leaks had occurred after I held the WTC on the water, but for my future designs, I will most likely switch to another filament material other than PLA+, maybe something like PETG to print my end caps. Now, with the WTC secured, I was ready to drop the boat into the water for the first time. Bear in mind that at this point, I had no ballast weights or foam installed in the hull. I had no idea how the boat would sit in the water, so I wasn't entirely surprised to see that the bow of the boat was slightly heavy and that the whole sub has some pretty severe rolling issues due to the lack of ballast in the keel. Nevertheless, I proceeded with establishing the surface trim first. This was very much a trial and error procedure and involved dunking the boat in and out of the water a few times. The important thing to remember here is that all the flotation foam was installed below the painted waterline of the boat, so as not to interfere with the submerged trim later on. With the surface trim established, I was ready to move on to the submerged trim, and here is where I encountered some issues. I quickly discovered that my ballast tank did not have enough volume to submerge the boat to the desired trim. Thankfully, I was able to design a larger tank to fit into the existing tube. I also took the opportunity to replace the original bow end cap containing the bow servo with a newly designed one with no servo. For eventual features such as bow torpedoes, I will simply actuate them using a waterproof external servo. Now, with the larger ballast tank incorporated, I proceeded to retrim the boat, both for the surface and submerged states, which again involve a lot of trial and error. I guess the big lesson to be learned here is to always design a ballast tank that is much larger than the estimated volume, and most importantly, to always have enough patience to properly trim the boat. In the end though, I was able to achieve the desired submerged trim with a portion of the conning tower sitting just above the water surface, and needless to say, it was pretty amazing to see the boat hovering underwater at the perfect level. So, with the sub now properly trimmed, I was finally ready for the maiden voyage. Luckily, I was able to catch a model boat meeting with some local builders, and this event also provided the perfect venue for launching my sub for the first time. But enough talking from me, let's enjoy some running footage. Needless to say, after being in the hobby alone for so long, it was great to finally sail with some like-minded individuals. Interestingly though, the boats that were present on that day were around 1/48 scale or even bigger, so my U-boat blended in pretty well size-wise with the rest of the fleet. And here I really want to give a special thanks to Mr. Dwayne Hill for helping me drive the boat while I was recording some footage of her running underwater. Dwayne is a very experienced model builder when it comes to RC boats and subs, and I'll make sure to include a link to his YouTube channel in the video description. Well, that's about it for today, guys. I really want to thank all of you for following my build. This has been a project that I wanted to complete for a long time, and I'm really happy to finally have a U-boat in my RC Submarine fleet. As always, if you're new to the channel, make sure to leave us a like and a subscribe. That will really help us out. And look forward to more RC Submarine videos to come. Stay tuned, and we'll see you next time.